Hi, I'm Manraj Grewal Sharma from the Indian Express Chandigarh. Welcome to the Chandigarh War Memorial. Here you see it behind me. It's probably the largest war memorial in post-independence India. And what is most unique about it is that it is a citizens' initiative. It's the first war memorial built by the citizens under the leadership of the Indian Express. So no government money was spent on this memorial. And it's also unique because it wasn't designed by a well-known architect or whatever. So it was the brainchild of then Governor Lieutenant General J.F.R. Jacob. He was a 1971 war hero. And what he did was he thought of this along, and so did the Indian Express. And then he launched a competition. So he invited students to come up with their models for memorial, and two students of Chandigarh College of Architecture, their model was accepted, and the war memorial is based on their model. Two students called Shivani Guglani and Nanki Singh. And then the model was given to the Urban Planning Department of Chandigarh Administration, and they set it up. So finally, the foundation stone was laid in 2004, and the memorial came into existence in 2006, and it was inaugurated by then President Abdul Kalam. With me is our defense correspondent, Manoman Singh Chinna. He's covered defense extensively, and especially the Kargil War, the aftermath, the Kargil War itself. So tell us a little bit about how did the war start?
Well, Manraj, as is now commonly known, that the war began officially in May, though, again, there are two aspects to it, that the actual hostilities in intensive warfare started in June. But it was in the first week of May that the intrusions in Batalik sector were discovered by a local shepherd, who then informed the nearest army battalion. And that is how the first information that Pakistani intruders have come into our side of the line of control in Kargil and Dras areas, and which is how the army then was tipped off. And then the great mobilization started to rush troops to that area so that these Pakistani intruders could be thrown out.
Okay. And how long did it carry on? Because initially it just started off as a minor operation.
That's true.
Right?
That's true. So initially the full impact of the intrusions was not known. Initially, it was thought that it was only in piecemeal areas that the Pakistani intruders had come and occupied certain heights. But gradually, as more army units were pushed in and as more information started trickling in, including the intelligence input, satellite photographs, on-ground surveillance, it was found out that there was a wide front over which the Pakistanis had come and occupied certain strategic heights. And which is why then the mobilization had to be on a greater scale, and artillery, missile units, and all the additional paraphernalia along with the troops had to be sent in.
All right. And because for a long time, it also led to a lot of casualties.
Correct.
So what was the total number?
Well, there is dichotomy about the total number, but it was certainly more than 500 fatal casualties suffered by the Indian troops, primarily because this was a war which was fought in the mountains, where the defenders, the Pakistani intruders, were sitting at a height, and whereas the Indian army had to go up these heights, and they definitely had an advantage, because they were sitting there in small numbers, whereas the ratio of attacking force to the defending force in mountainous areas is of the ratio of 1:10. So for every one Pakistani intruder, we had to send in 10 soldiers. So therefore, our manpower was more intensive and our casualties were more.
All right. And also it was a very interesting war because it was beamed live. So how did it impact the army action, the battle itself, the war itself?
This certainly was the first war or conflict, we can say, which was televised to the drawing rooms of people of the country, and then there were reporters from print as well as electronic media who were present on the spot, and often they were also accompanying the assault teams to a certain point. For example, we had an Indian Express reporter named Vikramjit who actually accompanied assault teams and went along with them when they were trying to capture peaks. So the television crews definitely helped make it a televised war, and this was something which captured the imagination of the nation.
All right. So did it work for the army, as in for the army's morale, and operationally did it do them any harm? because there were reports that sometimes the television reporters would, in a certain case, say, you know, our troops are stationed here, and the enemy burst would start on that location.
There were reports that something of that sort had happened, but the then Chief of Army Staff, General VP Malik, had clarified that nothing of this sort happened and that it was all accidental. But yes, as you rightly said, this did result in boosting the morale of not only the troops who were actually fighting in that area, but also of the common population of this country who were sending their young men to fight in this war. So it was a very motivating factor, and it brought the country together.
Absolutely. And also this war saw many young leaders, it was led by, the assault was led by young officers, second lieutenants, captains.
Absolutely.
So,
in any case, these young officers, as you said, they are the cutting edge, and they are the platoon commanders, they are the company commanders, and they are supposed to lead into the battle. But here again, because of the terrain, because of the need for physical fitness, even, you know, senior majors or even younger lieutenant colonels who were beyond a certain age, they could not function at those heights as effectively as perhaps a 24-year-old or 25-year-old would. So therefore, definitely it was a young soldiers' war and a young officers' war too.
any interesting anecdotes? You know, there were, I believe, the Indian Army sent back bodies of Pakistani soldiers who were felled here. And there was this officer, you wrote about him, who kept a letter saying in the pocket of, I am not clear about that.
Correct.
Yeah.
That was Brigadier Bajwa. He was commanding 192 Mountain Brigade, and his brigade was the one which first captured a live Pakistani soldier who was taken prisoner of war. So that, you know, really certified the fact that the Pakistanis were intruding on our side, though of course their dead bodies had been recovered earlier. The same Brigadier Bajwa also recommended a dead Pakistani officer whose name was Captain Colonel Sher Khan, who had died in action on Tiger Hill.
Okay.
So what Brigadier Bajwa told us was that he put a chit recommending this officer for the highest gallantry award of Pakistan Army in his pocket when his dead body was being sent back to the Pakistan High Commission for repatriation. And then this officer did actually get the Nishan-e-Haider, which is the highest gallantry award for Pakistan Army.
All right. And did it bring about any change in the Indian Army?
Yes, definitely it brought a change in the tactics of the Indian Army, in the deployment of Indian Army, where we had just one division which was looking after an entire front comprising Kargil, Dras, Siachen Glacier and the Chinese front. We now have an entire corps. And after, of course, the Eastern Ladakh incidents, we have two corps almost sitting in an operational posture. So this has resulted in a great deal of soul searching by the Indian Army also. There was a Kargil review committee which was formed and which gave far-reaching consequences. But one of the major recommendations of the Kargil Review Committee was setting up the office of the Chief of Defence Staff, which of course happened just a couple of years earlier, and we have of course lost General Rawat in an accident. But that office has been instituted as a result of the Kargil war.